President Trump wasted no time in asserting his presence on the global stage, employing a familiar blend of threats and pressure tactics. His first target, Colombia. Trump demanded the South American nation accept deportation flights carrying undocumented migrants, threatening tariffs and economic repercussions if they refused. The Colombian government, facing intense pressure from the resurgent Trump administration, ultimately acquiesced. This victory, touted by the White House as a sign that America is respected again, underscores Trump's return to a hardline approach to foreign policy. This approach, characterized by a reliance on tariffs and shows of force, is a hallmark of Trump's previous administration. He famously engaged in trade wars with China and imposed tariffs on allies like Canada and Mexico. His decision to target Colombia sends a clear message: cooperation will be coerced, not negotiated. This approach has drawn criticism from those who argue that it damages relationships with key allies and undermines America's standing in the world. However, the Trump administration remains steadfast in its belief that strength and a willingness to exert pressure are the only ways to secure America's interests abroad. The Colombian incident is just the latest example of Trump's aggressive foreign policy. He has also taken a hard line on immigration, launching a series of raids targeting undocumented immigrants. In Chicago, a multi-agency operation resulted in the arrest of nearly 1,000 people. This crackdown, coupled with the administration's decision to reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy, signals a renewed focus on border security and a hardline stance on immigration enforcement. Critics argue that these policies are inhumane and counterproductive, but the Trump administration remains committed to its agenda of reducing illegal immigration. The return of Trump's brand of diplomacy has sent shockwaves through international circles. Many are left wondering what other countries might find themselves in the crosshairs of Trump's America First approach. As the world grapples with the implications of a Trump presidency, one thing is clear: the international landscape just got a lot more volatile. Trump's first week back in office has been marked by a flurry of controversial decisions, igniting fierce debate across the political spectrum. The immigration enforcement operation in Chicago, resulting in the detention of nearly 1,000 individuals, has sparked outrage among immigrant rights groups. They argue that the operation, part of a nationwide effort to meet Trump's ambitious deportation quotas, unfairly targets vulnerable communities and instills fear. Adding fuel to the fire, Trump dismissed over a dozen inspectors general responsible for overseeing various government agencies. This move, widely condemned as an assault on government accountability and ethics, has raised concerns about potential abuses of power within the administration. Even some within the Republican Party have expressed unease over the dismissals, fearing that they could erode public trust and pave the way for corruption. The political landscape has been further roiled by Trump's decision to pardon individuals convicted in connection with the January 6th Capitol riot. This act of clemency, extending even to those found guilty of violent crimes, has drawn sharp criticism from both Democrats and Republicans. Critics argue that it undermines the rule of law and sends a dangerous message that political violence will be tolerated. The combined impact of these actions has created a sense of unease and uncertainty. Trump's critics accuse him of pursuing a divisive agenda that prioritizes his own political interests over the well-being of the nation. As the country grapples with the fallout from these controversial decisions, one thing is certain: the political battle lines have been redrawn, and the stakes have never been higher. In a move that has sent shockwaves through Washington, Pete Hegseth, a former Fox News commentator and staunch Trump ally, has been confirmed as the new Secretary of Defense. Hegseth, who has no prior experience in government or the military, secured the position thanks to a tie-breaking vote cast by Vice President J.D. Vance. His appointment has been met with a mixture of disbelief and alarm from Democrats and even some Republicans, who question his qualifications and temperament to lead the Department of Defense. The removal of numerous inspectors general, coupled with Hegseth's appointment, has raised serious concerns about the Trump administration's commitment to transparency and accountability. Critics argue that these actions are part of a broader effort to consolidate power and shield the administration from oversight. They point to Trump's history of attacking institutions and individuals he perceives as disloyal, arguing that this pattern poses a threat to democratic norms and the rule of law. The implications of Hegseth's appointment remain to be seen, but his lack of experience and his history of making inflammatory remarks have fueled anxieties about the potential for impulsive decision-making and a more aggressive foreign policy. Some analysts fear that Hegseth's appointment could signal a shift towards a more militaristic approach to foreign policy, potentially increasing the risk of conflict. The Trump administration, for its part, has defended Hegseth's appointment, arguing that he is a patriot who will bring fresh perspectives and a strong commitment to national security to the Department of Defense. However, the controversy surrounding his appointment is likely to continue, casting a long shadow over the Pentagon and adding to the sense of turmoil that has characterized the early days of Trump's second term. Trump's re-election has reverberated far beyond America's borders, with global leaders closely watching his administration's actions for clues about his foreign policy agenda. His aggressive stance towards Colombia has raised concerns across Latin America, where many fear a return to the days of U.S. interventionism. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's upcoming tour of the region, aimed at stemming the flow of migrants and boosting deportations, is likely to be met with resistance from governments wary of Trump's hardline approach. The U.S.-China rivalry, a defining feature of the global landscape, has intensified under the renewed Trump presidency. Trump's decision to pressure Colombia comes amidst growing Chinese influence in Latin America, a region traditionally seen as within the U.S. sphere of influence. The Biden administration's efforts to counter China's growing economic and diplomatic footprint in the region have been met with mixed success. Adding another layer of complexity to the geopolitical chessboard, Trump has made controversial remarks about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, suggesting a plan to clean out Gaza and resettle Palestinians in Jordan and Egypt. This proposal, widely condemned as unrealistic and inflammatory, has drawn sharp rebukes from Palestinian leaders and sparked concerns among U.S. allies in the region. The international community is closely watching to see whether Trump's comments signal a shift in U.S. policy or are merely another example of his penchant for provocative rhetoric. Trump's return to the world stage has injected a significant degree of uncertainty into the international system. His willingness to challenge established norms and pursue an America First agenda has left many world leaders scrambling to adjust their strategies. As the world grapples with the implications of a Trump presidency, one thing is clear: the coming years are likely to be marked by heightened tensions, unpredictable shifts in alliances, and a constant sense of flux on the global stage.